Good morning, traders. I'm Emily Bonney, the CEO of the Investment Banking Institute and your host here at NewsWare's Trade Talk. Joining me is trading anchor Bill Olson, who brings more than 30 years of institutional trading experience to our program. At Trade Talk, we provide the facts, themes, and trading ideas for the day ahead. Today is Thursday, December 5th. Today's moves follow a green day on Wall Street yesterday. All three major indices clocked wins during regular trading. The Dow added 308 points, or nearly 0.4%. The S&P 500 picked up 36 points, or 0.6%. The Nasdaq climbed 254 points, or 1.3%. Bill, let's get into today's action with what is happening in the markets this morning.
Hi, yes, good morning, Emily. I'm watching the S&Ps. We're flat to lower. We're down 0.05%. There's not a whole lot going on. The trading range is very tight. You look at the S&Ps. 607.07 is a low. The high is 607.57. A 0.50 spread. That's really an indication of a tight trading range. And but. We did have some, good earnings reports. We did have some earnings reports. I shouldn't say good. We had a number of earnings reports came out last night. That's affecting the market. We got the jobless claims coming out this morning. That's something to be paying attention to after the bell today. We got, a number of good earnings companies releasing earnings like Lululemon, Ulta Beauty, Victoria's Secrets, HPE, GitLab, and others. Market did like what Powell had to say. He was very positive on the economy yesterday when he spoke. But you got to pay attention to it because he's very cautious on lowering interest rates because the economy is doing so well. He's like, well, I don't, we could afford to, be cautious, and that is a little bit of a concern for me. Oil prices are all over the board this morning. I'm watching oil prices and they continue to fluctuate between gains and losses. But you're looking overseas and what's happening overseas, and you're seeing some mixed price action. The DAX on the one hand is up 73 points, or 0.36%. The key thing here is that the Germany's factory orders, they declined by 1.5% for October, which was better than the decline of 2%, which was the estimates. FTSE is flat. It's down 0.04%. The CAC is actually up 11.5 points, or 0.16%. Now, the political discord remains a big focus here in France and in Germany to a lesser extent. The prime minister is expected to resign today after being ousted in a no confidence vote. We know that. That was due to his budget that he pushed through. But the political discord is causing weakness in the euro dollar, and with the weakness in the euro dollar, that's actually good for equities. So I'm not really surprised to see some gains today in France and Germany. And then we're looking over at Asia last night to see what happened in Asia, and it was mixed to higher. I mean, the Nikkei jumped 119 points. That's 0.3%. The Hang Seng fell 182 points, or that's about 0.9%. And the Shanghai in China, it just finished flat to higher, up 4 points, or 0.12%. In China, they're really waiting for that PBOC meeting next week. In Hong Kong, the breadth was very bearish because they're looking ahead, and they're kind of looking at the economic challenges ahead, and they're expecting a lot of tariffs to be coming in, which could hurt the Chinese economy. But in Tokyo, you saw some gains. You saw some nice gains in tech. The yen did strengthen against the dollar, but we'll have to wait and see how what happens later this month when the Bank of Japan meets on interest rates. Then we'll turn our attention to oil. Now, oil is trading higher this morning, and not slightly higher. You got WTI at $68.65 a barrel. You got Brent at $72.40 a barrel. We're up, about less than 0.2%. So it's a minor move higher, and they were lower. Oil prices were 0.5% lower. They were 0.5% higher. Now they're kind of flat. OPEC came out, and OPEC did what was expected, and they're extending the production increases, the expected production increases, out until April, and then they're going to be lowering them from April through September, they said. Now, the stockpiles, the EIA oil stockpiles report yesterday showed a build of 5.1 million barrels. Where does all that build go to? They sell it off to other foreign nations, but you know, there's going to be a lot of issues with some of these OPEC nations because they are not happy with the fact that Saudi Arabia is not allowing them to produce more oil, and they're losing market share. And who they're losing market share to? The non-OPEC countries that are continuing to ramp up their production and sell more. They're not under the same constraints as OPEC nations are. So there's the OPEC nations aren't really thrilled with Saudi Arabia's decision to kind of continue to put these constraints on them in terms of uh, uh, their quotas. So we'll have to see. There could be a lot of cheating going on in the near future, but that's what I have for you in terms of a morning market report, Emily.
Bill, we can hear there in your morning market report that even on days where there's sort of no big headlines making major waves throughout the market, there's plenty of buckets to really dive into when it comes to market moving information. We heard a few of those in your opening. You did mention earnings action, a number of notable earnings that have been released and some to look ahead to. So, Bill, what is going on in terms of earnings action?
Yeah, let's take a look at earnings actually. American Eagle Outfitters, AEO, they beat by 2 cents, but it was done on lower revenue. You look at that stock, it's down 13.83% this morning. Five Below, ticker FIVE, Frank India, Victor Edward, they beat by 24 cents and they did it on higher revenue. That stock's up 14.5% this morning. PVH, that's the guy, they own Ralph Lauren. They own, it's a retailer, it's a retail stock. PVH, they beat by 44 cents and they did that on higher revenue. You look at PVH this morning, stock's down 6.97%. And then there's science applications, ticker SAIC. These guys delivered a nice beat this morning. They did deliver a nice beat this morning. They beat by 44 cents. They did it on higher revenue. That stock's up 6.53% this morning. Upcoming after the bell today, we have Ultra Beauty, ticker ULTA. Their EPS is $4.45. Expected move is 6.60%. Hewlett Packard, ticker HPE. Henry Paul Edward, their EPS is 55 cents. Expected move is 8.14%. Then you got Lululemon, ticker LULU. Their EPS is $2.69. Expected move is 8.82% when they release after the bell today, Emily.
And Bill, I will point out for our listeners that Science Applications was your pick of the day yesterday. You give a little hint on how that went, but we'll do a full recap on that pick of the day by the end of the show. Now we're going to shift to economic events. We did mention that jobless claims report, and there is more Fed speak on the docket today. You gave us a synopsis of what we heard from Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell yesterday, and keeping track of these economic events becomes increasingly important as we close out 2024. So, Bill, what is going on in terms of economic events?
8:30 a.m. We get jobless claims. That's going to be the key report for today. Now, the estimates are indicating an uptick in reports to 215,000 from last week's 213,000 figure. So that should. We'll have to see if it varies widely from that, because if it does, it's going to create volatility in the markets. Then at 8:30, we also get international trade in goods and services. In terms of Fed speak, we're going to hear from Richmond Fed Bank President Thomas Barkin. Today he's going to be speaking at 12:15 p.m. But yesterday, it was really about Powell and his comments at that New York Times Deal Book Summit, and he did paint a rosy picture of the U.S. economy ahead of the jobs data today and tomorrow. Powell stressed that the current state of the economy allows the Fed to exercise caution in moving rates back to a more neutral level. He thinks that the U.S. economy is stronger than anticipated and will have robust economic growth. So, that's all positive, and that's ahead of the holiday season. We'll have to see how things change over the course of the next few weeks. But Powell was very positive on the economic front, Emily.
Bill, offering that synopsis of the Federal Reserve Chair's comments from yesterday is one indication of how well you can use NewsWare, not only to look ahead at what is happening coming up, but also to really take a historical look at information and data, whether it comes to earnings action, economic events, or other types of market moving information. With your NewsWare, you also break it down into alerts, things like merger news, guidance news, shareholders meetings, buyback news, catalyst calls. You're also looking at stocks grouped together like your FANG stocks and your Dow 30 stocks. And this way you get a really good picture on any given trading day. So Bill, what else do you see is possibly moving the markets today?
Doing a quick data check. I'm looking at my Dow stocks. I got 14 lower, 16 higher. I'm looking at my FANG stocks. I'm showing gains in the FANG stocks, with the exception of Apple, which is down like 1 penny. So for the most part, we're showing some positive action. We'll see if this can continue because the S&Ps are down 0.05%. But you're looking at some of the news, on the tape this morning, like Apple, they're delaying the mass production of that HomePod due to software issues. Amazon is rolling out a new feature for websites. It's going to be a little button on the side that says "Buy with Amazon," that companies can put on their website. Interesting. I don't think it's a big, huge moneymaker. In terms of Dow Jones 30 stocks, I want to talk about Walmart for a second. Ticker WMT, shares are higher by 0.4%. Walmart was added to the Bank of America's U.S. #1 focus list. That's their conviction list. Costco was removed, COST, but WMT was added. Boeing, Southwest Airlines came out and they said, they're expecting Boeing to deliver 27 737-8 aircrafts next year. So, you look at Boeing, it's trading a little higher this morning based on that anticipation. In terms of merger news, what do we have here? We got IPG, India Paul Grace, that's Interpublic Group. They're buying Intelligence Node in a deal valued at about $100 million. In terms of guidance news, PVH, Paul Victor Henry, they see Q4 adjusted EPS $3.05 to $3.20. Street estimate was $3.71. That's a big downtick. American Eagle, ticker AEO, they see Q4 revenue down 4% from last year. Five Below, ticker FIVE, they see Q4 adjusted EPS coming in $3.15 to $3.33. Street estimates at $3.33. So that's not a great forward guidance, but stock is still trading higher this morning. I was actually trading it after the bell yesterday, but Five Below was up $120, so up $15. So it's having a nice strong move. Land's End, ticker LE, Larry Edward, they see Q4 adjusted EPS 51 cents to 61 cents. Street estimate is right in the middle, 55 cents. So it's neutral. In terms of shareholders meeting, we got CoStar, that's ticker CSGP, Charlie, Sam, Grace, Paul. They're holding an investors day today. Tractor Supply, TSCO, they're holding an investors community day today. And Honeywell, ticker HON, they're presenting today at a Goldman conference. You look at shares of Honeywell, you're trading slightly off, down about 0.5% this morning. In terms of buyback news, Academy of Sports and Outdoors, they announced a new 700 million share repurchasing agreement. And Science Applications, ticker SAIC, their board authorized a 1.2 billion share repurchasing plan. Ooh, that's nice. In terms of catalyst calls, Intertech, that's ticker IKTSY, India, Kilo, Tom, Sam, Yellow, JP Morgan placed it on the catalyst watch list. And that's what I have for you in terms of news hitting the tape this morning, Emily.
This is the type of data that NewsWare delivers daily. It's factual, it's market moving, and our alerting functions bring it to your attention as it happens. Go to www.newsware.com now and sign up for the trial and see for yourself the benefits that professional Newswire delivers. We've now made it to that time of the show for the Trade Talk pick of the day. Bill, what is your pick of the day today?
Going to go with IoT, India, Oscar, Tom. That's Sam, Sarah. Earnings right after the bell. EPS is 4 cents, beatable. Estimated move is 15%. The last quarter they said, we think we see forward guidance 3 to 4 cents, but business seems to be good. And they did come in with 5 cents last quarter. So, 4 cents is, it's not out of the question they could beat it. They continue to say how business is humming along. You look at yesterday's call volume, 7,382 calls traded versus 4,029 puts. Positive. Open interest, not positive though. 54,797 versus 65,823. But I still like it. Major brokers, they are raising price targets. Not particularly in a bullish fashion. But they are raising price targets. I'm a little concerned that we could have some weakness this morning. And if you have market weakness, it could really affect Samsara. And so, I'll put a entry price of 54.80, but definitely under 55 as my entry point. But I do think we should be able to see a gain because I do think it could run hot as we get closer to the earnings announcement. If you get the 1% during the day, you just take it and walk away. But that's my pick of the day. IoT, India Oscar Tom, the Samsara Corp, Emily.
IoT on an earnings play today. And as we mentioned earlier in the show, your pick of the day yesterday was an earnings play. And coming up, we will do the recap on that. So stick with us. But first, let's take a look at the current breaking headlines that have hit the tape in our hot off the press segment. Bill, take it away.
OTEX, Oscar Tom, Edward X-Ray. OpenText announces strategic partnership with Secure Code Warrior. American Airlines, they did a deal with a credit card company that they see cash remuneration from a co-branded card of 10% annually. It's American Airlines and Citibank. Kroger, ticker KR, CEO said Q3 was led by pharmacy and digital performance. Fiserv, ticker FI, stocks, weakening after Trump named their CEO as a commissioner of Social Security Administration. The Buckle, ticker BKE, Boyd Kilo Edward, they reported November 2024 comparable sales up 2.5% year over year, positive. I talked about Robinhood having its shareholder meeting yesterday, and it's in the early days, but they're starting. It looks like they're going to try and do more than just the mobile devices. That they might actually be doing a desktop application. Insight, ticker INCY, they get orphan drug designation from the FDA. Coty, ticker COTY. Coty is signed a long-term agreement to develop new beauty products with Swarovski. Lilly, ticker LLY. CEO says the firm will fight to defend the FDA as it stands today because they don't like JFK Jr.'s talk about making huge changes to the FDA because it works, and you might not be perfect, and it's not, but it's better than what some countries have. TSMC's in talks with NVIDIA for AI chip production in Arizona. New York police continue their manhunt for the gentleman for the person that killed the United Healthcare president CEO yesterday. And that's what I'm seeing this morning, Emily.
Okay, Bill, before we sign off, let's do that check-in on yesterday's pick of the day. We put it out earlier in the show, was science applications. You did give us a look at the stock during your earnings report. The company reported Q3 EPS of $2.61. As you told us, that was 44 cents better than the analyst estimates of $2.17. Revenue for the quarter came in at $1.98 billion versus the consensus of $1.94 billion. You did give us that note about their $1.2 billion share repurchase program during your NewsWare alerts breakdown. And in terms of guidance, they see a full year 2025 EPS of $8.50 to $8.65. Now, that is versus the consensus of $8.19. Bill, this one sort of hit the trifecta of earnings reports. You have a beat on EPS and revenue. You had that bump in guidance, and you had a share repurchase program. And not to mention, yesterday the company declared a 37-cent quarterly dividend. All positive news. Was there positive momentum? How did your call work out?
Worked out great. I mean, you look at the numbers. Stock opened up $122.43. It did fall down to, broke 122. It fell down to 121.97. But then it kind of rallied, and it actually hit a high of, moved higher from there and closed at 123.91. And you look at the stock this morning, SAIC is trading $132. I mean, the bid's 130.10 to 133. So it's still like a $10 move. So you gotta appreciate science applications. I mean, that's a big mover on a percentage basis. SAIC was a good winner yesterday, Emily.
A nice big move there to the upside, a win. And we will check in with you tomorrow about today's Samsara pick of the day. But thank you, as always, for your expert insight. Join us back here tomorrow to end your trading week with NewsWare's Trade Talk, when we provide the facts, themes, and trading ideas for the day ahead. Again, I'm your host, Emily Bonney, here with trading anchor Bill Olson. Traders, you know what to do. Let's go out there and make some green.